The words heard across France and around the world, spoken by French President Emmanuel Macron. I am fully determined, and I won't cede any ground, not to slackers, nor cynics, nor hardliners. In early September, the French government announced changes to its labor code. It essentially switches bargaining, protections, and payout power from workers to employers. It kicked off protests, and more are expected. Joining us now for more, please welcome from London, Professor Steve Keen, economist and author of Can We Avoid Another Financial Crisis? Look, unemployment is high, growth is low. You call Macron a classic neoliberal politician, charismatic campaigner, pedestrian in office. You say his economic plan is to basically turn France into an economics textbook 101. But it's not the real world of governance. Explain this.
No, this is what's so frustrating, seeing people like Macron who are so convinced that they're correct because the model of the economy that they have in their heads, which they learned at university, tells them that if there's unemployment that causes wages are too high. And the reason that unemployment's high in France is because of the rigidity of the labour system. So if you liberalise it, inverted commas, you end up with a lower wages and therefore higher employment, and everything's okay. It is total nonsense. It's applying a microeconomic perspective to a macroeconomic issue. And if you cut wages for everybody, their expenditure falls. And if their expenditure falls, GDP falls by precisely as much. So it's a recipe for disaster, and it's identifying the wrong factor as the cause of the crisis in France.
And you have talked about the France personal debt crisis and the USA in 2007, a jump in both countries.
Yeah.
Can Macron address this effectively? 1% up to nearly 10% we're seeing in that country.
Yeah, no, he can't because he has the euro. The only way that this can be addressed is by a national government deciding to use its central bank's capability to create money, to put that money into people's personal and, however you manage to do it, corporate bank accounts, and use that to reduce private debt. Basically an accounting operation, to converting what is currently credit-based money into fiat-based money. But of course, since France does not have a central bank, that can't be done. So he's on a hiding to nothing to make the French economy worse and then to wear the consequences. Okay,
well, the EU and the euro feeding into France, and France feeding into that. It's the EU's third largest economy. There are people in the EU who seem happy about a possible invigoration by these words. How strong is the sway there?
Oh, because I mean, he is the shining hope of the European Union unity ticket. And of course, if you look at what's being done by far less charismatic characters like Juncker, I hope I've mispronounced his name properly. He is somebody who wants to bring about a United States of Europe with a central treasury in Brussels run by the European Union bureaucrats. And no matter what, that's what he wants to achieve. Similar Schäuble, he wants to discipline all the other members. That's literally his own word, as you'll find in Yanis Varoufakis's Adults in the Room. Discipline the other countries in the same way that Germany is disciplined by fiscal rigidity. Nobody is happy about that. And Macron comes along and is a charismatic young man, starts a whole new political party, wins in a landslide, and he's now the guy who's actually got power to do something about that neither Juncker nor Schäuble have. And they hope that they can lead them to the promised land of the United States of Europe. It's not going to happen.
Well, let's talk about the youth, which has plenty of charisma. What do you think about Jean-Luc Mélenchon, head of the left-wing France, the Unbowed Party? As of late April, running for president, he was showing 19% of the vote in the French presidential election campaign. He's calling for a September 23rd march. He calls Macron's changes social coup d'etat. Party's members number in over 500,000, mostly young. Can he effectively mobilize this and possibly cause a change?
Yeah. He could. I mean, I don't know enough about him, but comparisons, I could draw comparisons to Beppe Grillo in Italy. And Grillo has managed not just to build a popular movement, but to also get 3 of the 4 opposition parties there to agree to the concept of bringing in a parallel currency if they become the government. Now, I don't know how much this guy knows about economics and whether he's open to those sorts of ideas, but certainly he was going to be the main beneficiary of the anger that people are feeling towards Macron, which is only going to rise.
Well, let's talk about the employers' unions. They're pushing for this. They've pushed for this for quite some time, for years, in fact. Maybe some surprise on their part.
Yeah.
The strongest unions are pushing hard for this. How strong is their voice in France right now?
Yeah, the employers always push for this sort of thing. This is what's been done in the West. Meaning by the West, the Anglo-Saxon countries. They've basically crushed the unions. There is no union no union power to demand for wage rises or workers' rights in any of the major Anglo-Saxon countries. And in that situation, the employers have won, so to speak. But what they've done is they've managed to reduce the amount of money and power they give to the workers, and it's been more than matched by an increase in the power of the bankers over them. And of course, now they're trying to cause inflation in those countries, and the inflation can't be caused unless workers are getting wage rises that exceed labour productivity. And now they're despairing. Why can't we get wage rises? Employment's high in America, so they claim. France will end up in the same trap, and it's ending up in the same trap without its own currency, which is even worse.
Professor Steve Keen, economist and author of Can We Avoid Another Financial Crisis? Thank you for your time.